Ready? All right, first off, I'd like to say thank you for allowing us the opportunity to interview you about Parker. First off, we'll just start with, what does Parker's typical day look like?
School day?
School day, yeah, just typical day.
Oh. He lately gets up at the crack of dawn, so gets up around 4. Waits for his breakfast, he eats, and just kind of hangs out. He likes to go on his swing. Help me out.
Well, I would say that, it's during summer, there's a lot of downtime, and we have therapists in our house, so that's a little different than a school day. School day, I mean, he's pretty routine oriented, but I guess we feel fortunate that he's not so routine oriented that he's not able to be flexible. So if a day changes from a school day to a weekend, if we're going to go to one store and we don't end up going to a store that we told him we were going to go to, or a restaurant, he'll adapt to that.
Okay.
Yeah, he's definitely, and I think with some kids with autism, they tend to be very rigid, and if you don't do the same things every day, then
like
they
routine.
absolutely,
Yeah,
they're challenged, whereas he sometimes likes the novelty of something different.
So pretty much like a normal kid, brush the teeth, get dressed. He needs a lot of assistance with those things, but, and then off to school.
Go to school. We are fortunate now, the program that he has, that he's in, he requests school, he likes school. School please, they'll say he has very limited language skills, but you can't tell us wants and needs, and he lights up when it's time to go to school, which is great for us, because much of his, I guess, his academics up to this point have been fairly stressed out at school. He was wetting his pants up to 9 times a day, and just kind of in a constant state of fight or flight. And so now he's in a situation where he really enjoys going to school, because, where he is, they create an environment that's just very non-threatening and open for learning for him.
Comes home, eats dinner, wants to play outside, and goes to bed.
He's got a sister that's 2 years younger than him, and she's been the best big little sister that he could ask for. She's watched out for him and taken care of him and advocated for him, and been his voice when he doesn't have a voice for so many years. And so she'll jump on the trampoline with him and try to get him to engage in as much as she can get him to engage. He's never played with toys. It's not a part of something that he does. He likes motion, he likes to swing, he likes to somersault, he's got all those sensory needs, and she'll engage and play on his terms with the games that he will play with. And so they'll come home at night and jump on the trampoline and do whatever they can. But I'll come home and it'll be more tickle and play time. He likes deep pressure, deep sensory pressure. So I squeeze him as hard as I can. When he was little, I used to pick him up by his legs and swing him and throw him on the bed and tickle him, and now he's way too big at 13 to be able to do that. But still tickle from the head to the toe. He just wants that deep pressure input, which is, I think, characteristics of some kids with autism. So.
You mentioned that he loves coming to school.
Yes.
What has this program here at Evergreen done for him?
Oh, well, this is his first year here at Evergreen, but the program was structured, I guess, from day one. The staff wanted to know, understanding that all kids with autism have different needs, different challenges, and interviewing us several times, inviting us to be a part of a parent roundtable, if you will, and pretty much all the educators that were going to work with him got to know who he was. We did a PowerPoint and said, here's kind of the operating rules of Parker. Here's the things that will set him off. Here's the things that he's got strengths in, and they heard it. And from day one, they structured an environment here that's been very non-threatening.
Allowed him to be really successful.
Yes.
Which is, we've not had that yet in his entire life. And so to finally get to a place where he comes and he's happy and he feels safe and not threatened and he can learn, it's been amazing.
For him to be himself.
For allowing him to be himself. For him,
Yes.
the challenge is, I think, for all educators that have worked with Parker, is there's such short windows of when you can get him to be, I guess, regulated enough to be educated. And so expanding those windows of time and those opportunities when you can, when he's regulated enough, have been important. And when it's too loud, too noisy, he's just too much language, the pace of language, the sound, even the tone of the voice. For some people, they may not even realize that they're setting him off. And we've had situations in schools where we go in and see, and they don't know what's wrong with Parker, and we're like, well, we know. His sensory system is being bombarded, and you're actually the problem. You don't know it. You're well-meaning. You're trying to be engaging. Hi, Parker. How are you? You know. So for him, that's just way too much. So they learned that here right away, and they've made an environment where all of that sensory bombardment is behind him. So it's safe for him to learn and sit. And then it's expanding the windows of opportunity for him to engage in being educated. So,
that's great.
it's been a fantastic program.
I actually have a question.
Yeah.
Are there programs in high school, like in the high school that he will be going to, that are similar to this, that you can kind of branch off and continue this one-on-one and get the needs that he has?
I think they're working on that. I think
Yeah.
they would like that to be the case. I don't know that that's set in place as of this moment, but I think that that would be ideal. It'd be ideal for him.
A pilot program, and I think what I've seen here is that, Parker is in a pilot program that has kids of various different ages. He's in 7th grade, and he's not in a 7th grade school. He's in 6th grade school, and he's got children that are even younger than that in his class. So the fact that they are meeting him at his level, wherever his level is, I think in so many situations with schools, they feel like we need to progress, we need to modify the curriculum at whatever level it is to get it back down to where they can comprehend and understand, even if they're not at a 7th grade. Well, a 7th grade teacher, I don't know if they're always, for our son, who some of the academic skills are maybe at a kindergarten level, 7th grade teacher isn't necessarily as skilled at kindergarten types of curriculum. So to meet them at their level and have experts that are at their level, educators at their level, to be best in a position to modify curriculum is what they seem to be doing here. So meet them at their level, and if that means they should be in 7th grade, but they're actually working on skills that are kindergarten, that's what they're doing, and trying to fill in those gaps. And as parents, the challenge for us is, you go into the IEP process, and you certainly want to engage and participate. But not being educators, we know our son, and we know what sets him off, but we don't necessarily know what are all the building blocks. What are the first things he needs to learn from a kindergarten level, 1st grade level, 2nd, 3rd? What are all those gaps that need to be filled in? And that's where we rely on good educators around us to say, okay, here's the gaps he has. Here's what he's missing. We need to step back and fill those in.
On IEP, sorry.
Yeah.
When did you two both discover he first had a disability?
When did we discover he first had a disability?
There were things that weren't typical, I think, from infancy on, really, for us. And then it became more and more apparent as he wasn't reaching his milestones. Even physical milestones were concerning. He didn't walk until almost 2 years old. And then, I'd go to play groups, and there would be kids of the same age, and they'd be exploring and climbing things and trying to stand and trying to walk, and he would stand right in front of me and just like push a train back and forth, just repetitive, just the classic things you might, find with a kid with autism. And the other kids that are trying to get scissors and cut, and he just would face me as if there was nothing else going on around him. And I just, through Google and everything, it's like, wow, he's got a lot of these classic red flags.
A lot of repetitive motions. He would take a hose and lift it up, and he'd like to see things flash out of the corner of his eye. He'd run along a countertop and see it flash, things that other kids weren't necessarily doing, and just kind of seemed to get stuck in those repetitive motions and behaviors. He was our first child, so we didn't necessarily have a frame of reference. I think when you have a child and then your second one has autism, the red flags come a little quicker. But as your first child, you really don't know what to expect. You don't know what's typical. I think
some of the stuff you thought was kind of cute, like if there was a certain animal sound on TV, he would cry, and we'd be like, that is so silly, why is he crying? Well, knowing what we know now, you know, the water running in the tub, he would just sob, and I thought, why is that bothering him? But all those classic signs, warning signs were there. So, and then about four, we have the official diagnosis.
Yeah, which is challenging too. You know, if you think about the academic piece of that, and as parents, you certainly you go to a doctor and you don't necessarily want to have a diagnosis of autism. You want to be told that your child is typical, they may be delayed, but they're going to be just fine. You know, there's not going to be, you know, and I think if you look at it medically, giving a child a diagnosis of autism has been pretty stringent for some doctors. And but the educational diagnosis of autism, we learned, which you don't know up front, but the educational diagnosis is a little more lax. And it was explained to us that it's really to get him in a situation where that's protecting him at school. If he has behaviors, you know, you don't want teachers to think that that's just naughty behavior. There is actually an issue here, and so.
So we have that at 3,
Yeah.
so we went into early childhood at 3.
He got an educational diagnosis, and as parents, we had doctors saying he doesn't have autism. Very strict doctors that don't just hand out that label very quickly. They want to wait and see how they progress and mature, and maybe it's not autism. But the one thing about it from a parent standpoint is the quicker you get a diagnosis, the more help you get, the more programs you can get them into. And the educational system was more able to hand that out. And then as parents, you're like, wait a minute, the doctor said he doesn't have autism.
So it's very confusing and very upsetting.
You at the school are saying he
Yeah.
has autism. Does he have it or does he not have it?
Yeah.
And so
Where do we go now? What do we do now? You know?
the explanation that this is to protect him, is to get him in programs, and it's like, okay, we'll accept that. And then he eventually did get a more classic diagnosis of autism, from UWM and the psychology department there. The way they described it, there was no doubt. It was, if you look at autism and it's a bullseye, and on the outside is Asperger's, and then PDD-NOS, and then autism right in the center. We think your son has got autism right in the center, and we don't ever see him catching up with his typical peers. So for him being 4 years old, that's hard for a parent here to know that these challenges might, who knows? Is this child going to live in an institution their whole life? What are expectations?
What does that mean?
As a child
Yeah.
grows, you have dreams and hopes that they're going to be, who knows what, grow up and do great things. And now we have this diagnosis of autism. What does that mean? What can we hope for him now? And I think we've been steadfast in hoping whatever he can be, we want to help him to be. And at this point, the thing that he needs most is just to communicate. He's got such limited language skills, he can't advocate for himself. Some of the programs they have here at the school here that he's in are really geared towards just helping fill in the communication blocks. If he can tell us what's on his mind, because he's got so much going on upstairs, he's got such good receptive language skills. We can tell him to do lots of things, and he understands that he just can't come back and talk to us. He's not conversational. He give you one-word, two-word answers, but you can't have a conversation with him.
You mentioned those challenges. What would be your family's strengths surrounding Parker?
Just supporting him at whatever level he's at, and wanting the best for him. And I would say that we have
Patience. It's taught us a lot of patience.
Patience, and if you look at the hierarchy of needs, I mean, we aren't struggling just to get by day to day. We're fine as a family, from an economic standpoint, where it's not that we have to focus so much of the attention on just getting by day to day, that we don't have enough resources to get him the help that he needs, or the time to get him the help that he needs. So I think supporting him, and his sister's been a tremendous support.
It's
She
taught
said
her a lot.
from a very young age.
Yeah.
There's a couple stories. I know kids, when she was probably 3 years old, kids would come up to Parker, because he looks typical, and they would want to play with him and talk to him, and he doesn't talk back, and they don't understand why. And she's 3 years old, and she says to these other kids, "Why doesn't he talk?" And she would say, "It's okay, he's still learning how to talk." Yeah. So she's just she's been a very, very strong
Yeah, and it's taught her to be so compassionate and, you know, she's matured
Yeah.
tremendously, you know, I think surpassed her peers in that aspect and protective and, you know, understanding of kids who may be a little bit different and just really amazing, so.
She said at a very young age too, she says, I don't, she says, you know, as I grow up, I don't really care what I do from a job standpoint, I just want to make enough money where I can take care of Parker.
Yeah, she said that in
Good.
And that's
kindergarten.
nothing that we've told her that
No.
she
Yeah.
needs to do. She
Yeah.
just knows she's got a brother with special needs that probably will need help, and she wants to be there for him. So yeah, I think.
Does that answer your question?
So they have a very special bond.
Yeah,
they do.
absolutely.
They do, it's pretty amazing. Mhm.
Not only that, I mean, outside of our family, the people that we've met through autism. I've been a part of the Autism Society of Southeastern Wisconsin in the past, and you meet so many people that are so passionate about helping the cause. You know, friends of ours have rallied around us and supported us, and you don't know that you would probably have those interactions and that level of support if you didn't have a challenge like
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
So to meet the neat people that we've met and to have people reach out to us has been pretty special.
That's great. As a family, what do you guys do for fun?
Like I said, we are able to get out of the house and go do things, and I hear stories that just break my heart about families that say, we can't leave, our child's in the basement all day long. We try to get him out of the basement, and he can't even get out of the basement, let alone go outside the house to go do anything. And we've, from a very young age, gotten Parker out. We'll go shopping in the community. He likes to get out. We'll go to restaurants.
Go to the park,
Go to
go on
the park.
vacations.
Every spring.
He likes to swim, go to the beach, you know, a lot of normal things. I mean, we might do it in a different way, but still do things that most families do just differently, just modified.
We sometimes have to abbreviate things because he
Mhm.
will, you know, only tolerate a short period of time. Waiting in lines is challenging. So you go to Disney, and we've gone to certain places like that, and it's nice that they've got the programs where you can go to the front of the line, because if we had to wait in line,
can't.
he
No.
will pinch himself. He just gets, you know, too anxious, and he'll try to escape and run and get out of there. And so, you know, understanding that balance of how long can he tolerate. We have a stroller for him. He's always, as long as he's had a stroller when he's little that kind of encloses him, he can retreat back to that, and we can be out in the community for so much longer if he knows that he's got a place where he's grounded and can kind of be, you know, shut out all the visual sensory and the sound sensory. As he's gotten bigger, that's a little more challenging because you outgrow the baby strollers, but now we've got a more adult stroller, so we can get him out in the community and do.
We go
lots of
visit,
different
yeah,
things.
we go visit family and, you know, do, like I said, lots of, you know, things that other families do, just maybe for a shorter period of time, or, you know, we still have to pack, you know, maybe food or fidget toys or, you know, different things for his comfort. That's
Mhm.
different, you know, for a 13-year-old, 12, 13-year-old, but otherwise, kind of typical
Yeah,
things.
we're fortunate that we can do
Yeah.
very typical.
From young on, we said we don't want to, you know, be a prisoner in this house. There's no reason. We're going to take him, and we did it from early on. We took him out, and even though it was challenging, that was important to us.
And the safety aspect is challenging too. We were at Great America one time when he was young, and I just did a little experiment. We had him, you know, we wanted him to go throw something in the garbage can, and it was across kind of a busy walkway. We were kind of in the water park area at Great America, and so we had these seats set up, and we were all kind of laying there, and said, Parker, go throw this away. And so he walked across a kind of a busy walkway, lots of people going back and forth, and threw it away, and then he got in the stream of traffic and just kept walking with the folks, and I followed him. We went probably 3 blocks and, you know, through Great America, and he didn't know where he was. I mean, he wasn't panicked. He wasn't, because he didn't have that sense of I'm lost, you know. So as a parent, you have a certain radar for a
Yeah,
child,
you're on high alert.
an infant that constantly needs to be watched because they could get in trouble, they can fall down steps, they can get burnt on a stove. So if you see parents of infants, they're always kind of on high alert. And then as they get older, it's like, okay, they can play on their
We're
own.
still on high alert.
You're still on high alert, yeah, you still
So.
always have to be watching. We have locks on our doors because you don't know if he's gonna wander out and wander away.
But we're willing to do that, you know, because he deserves to go out and experience life too. You know, it's not always relaxing, but that's what we do.
You mentioned you go to the beach a lot, vacation as a
Yeah.
family.
Mhm.
What recreation or leisure skills might Parker learn at school that would make family recreation and leisure more enjoyable?
One of the things that they've done here is introduce him to these trikes, the bikes over here, and he loves it. And they allowed us to take one home for the summer, just to borrow it. And oh my gosh, the joy on his face, because you could tell he's like, I am independent. I am riding this bike on myself. And so it was so fun to be able just to take a walk and have him be on a bike. Now, mind you, again, with safety, it was kind of like hold on to the thing, because he would just veer right off into traffic, but it didn't matter. I was just so happy to see him so happy. Like, I'm doing this, I can ride a bike too.
And you taught him to stop if a car's coming.
Yeah,
So
to
he was
stop
trained that,
completely.
you know, just if a car's coming, you stop.
Yeah.
And pull over to the side. So all those things that are coming that are typical. So learn to ride a bike, a real bike would be fantastic, and he's doing some of those things here. I would say
Yeah.
patience, you know, to allow us to wait in line and do some more typical things that, you know, most children learn. I gotta wait in line. The reward at the end of it's gonna be good, so I'll wait here. Turn taking and all those types of things that are skills that
You know,
the
you
kids
think
learn.
about, yeah, I mean, cut you off. Like, it's been a challenge going to water parks, you know, obviously, there's lots of kids and you have to wait in line to go down the slide, and that's been nerve-wracking, because that's dangerous, it's slippery, and other kids don't know why he's trying to get ahead. I mean, he's oblivious.
Or other kids will get ahead of him.
Yeah, ahead of
And he'll
him.
stand there and they just keep going and he stands there and waits or goes
Yeah.
and, you know, that whole under.
So to learn that skill, you know, you go, then I go, and then I have to wait, and it's okay, I'll get to my turn. That's a big skill. So, I can't think of anything else.
What do you both most enjoy about Parker? How does he contribute to the family?
Mhm.
He's just the sweetest thing. You know, he's, you know, kids his age are probably, you know, the eye rolling, you know, they're getting kind of the sassy mouth. None of that. I mean, just sweet innocence, his laughter, his love,
Infectious.
it is. Oh my gosh, and we have all these inside little jokes. He's got silly little sayings that if you repeat it, I mean, they're nonsensical, but what were the
Well,
example?
we'll say some of them and.
If we repeat it,
And he'll repeat it like from a really young age. He used to say, "A peel, a poo, pink."
what is that?
And you'd say it and he'd laugh and he'd say it.
And it's just the sweetest thing.
Yeah.
And one time we were,
Ice fairy,
Do
do
we-
we? That's what he says.
what is that? Like, what, it doesn't have a
And so you'll
clue.
say, so Parker, ice fairy, Dewey, and he'll smile. And
Sometimes you'll
and he'll
start
say
it,
it back,
yeah.
you know.
Or you'll start it and he'll finish it, and he
Yeah.
thinks that's hilarious. Or one time we were at Rockies, and a lot of times he'll start a phrase by saying, I like to. I mean, none of us understand it. But he yelled on the top of his lungs, I like to hot dog!
And then,
And really just and then like laughing as hard as a person, almost tears are coming down his face. And it's just so special, you know, it's just,
it's the simple things.
It's
just
the simple
it's just
things.
making an eye connection with him, and I'm gonna get you. He likes chased and tickled, and
Yeah.
his eyes just light up if you go, I'm gonna get you, and then he just looks and then run, and you know, it's a very simple interaction. It's not really necessarily verbal. It's not a conversation, but it's certainly a connection.
well, and he doesn't want for anything. You know, I want this, I want an iPad, I want an iPhone, I want a phone, I want this. He doesn't ask for a doggone thing.
He needs a
you know?
swing. He's got to have a swing. He's got to have that motion. He's got
I
to
mean,
be
to
able
survive.
Yeah,
It's
to
more
fulfill.
things, you know, so he can be in this world.
Yeah.
You know, not just, you know, the things like I was mentioning.
Like materialistic stuff.
Exactly.
And we've said
Simple,
that
I mean.
and all this we explained
Just a pleasure.
to the educators here at the school, and they made it happen. You know, he's got this swing. He's got the things that we know are going to allow him to be comfortable to get to a point where he can be educated.
So for all those things, he's
Mhm.
pretty amazing.
That's good.
Yeah.
What has Parker's impact been on your marriage?
I think it's challenging at times when you have disagreements about how to raise him or how to discipline, or you know, just at what level. You know, we still don't have Parker fully potty trained, you know, and I feel as though he's smart enough, you can train a child to do whatever you want with consistency. And sometimes I'm a little harsher than Christy, she's more soft, and so if I'm getting upset with him because of a potty accident, I'm not upset with him, I'm doing it to try to get his attention, to try to let him know the impact so that he understands this isn't acceptable to have an accident here, because he knows the right thing to do. And occasionally, I would say half the time, he will go to the bathroom where he's supposed to go. So he knows, it's just we're allowing him by not being consistent. So
Yeah,
we have a
I mean, it's upsetting, you know, that's upsetting, and.
You don't like to see him cry, and I
No.
know that he needs to cry, or he needs to understand. If you discipline a child and the child just says, oh, yeah, whatever, and if there's no pain, then there's no change. And so, you know, that's been challenging.
The other thing is, you can't just have, you know, the kid down the street that wants to babysit. You need experienced, you know, therapists, people that understand him, and that's hard to find. I mean, our therapists are older and they have lives, you know, and they wanna go out and they don't wanna spend their whole day doing therapy with all these kids and then respite. So we've gone away for one weekend and since he was born, so for 13 years, we've had one weekend alone. So,
Because
that's hard.
you can't, I mean, you have to know him well enough to be able to, when he gives you language and says, or has a request, or sometimes we don't really even know what he's requesting. And, you know, we make him slow down and speak more clearly, and then we usually can figure it out. But, you know, people, if you don't know him, if you're just a typical babysitter, he's gonna get frustrated because you don't understand what he's asking for. Or you may walk in and not realize that you can't say, hi, Parker, how are you? And, you
So
know,
it's hard to find time
yes.
together like most couples do, you
Yeah.
know, like, you know, for anniversaries, or it doesn't matter. We just don't get that.
It's either your parents that have to be available, or one of our therapists that's available, and
And
outside
that's
of that.
rare. Yeah,
that's
there's
all we
maybe
have.
2 people we have to choose from, and so if they're busy, then guess we're not going. So that's tough.
And, you know, traveling on business, there's times where she's been invited to go to some pretty amazing places, and she doesn't get to go. You know, I had one of my best buddies got married last weekend, and we would have liked to have both gone to that wedding back in Iowa, and I went by myself because we just didn't have anybody
There's nowhere to watch,
the
nowhere
kids.
to watch the for you.
So that becomes.
So, well, you know, disappointments, but then you just go, it is what it is, you know, just, what can we do? You know, what can you do?
It's easy to say why be and focus on the negatives and compare yourself to families that are able to do more, and families that don't have it as challenging, but just as easily you can look at all the families that
have
even-
greater
even
challenges.
more challenges.
That's right.
Children that you know have more severe autism, or children that maybe
Any
aren't-
other kind of
aren't-
disability?
or not even just
Doesn't matter.
disability, children that are sick and maybe won't even be here in a year. You know, so you kind of got to realize that as tough as it might be, there's always things that could be more challenging, and count the blessings of the things
Yeah.
that we do have with them.
So, always a work in progress, I guess.
You said about how he gets potty trained and sometimes he
Yeah.
doesn't do it properly.
Mhm.
Do you ever get frustrated? If so, do you ever show him that you're frustrated?
Yeah,
It's
and
hard.
I do purposely, like I said, because it works when he knows that you're disappointed in him. If he gets away with, you know, going in the corner, you know, 5 out of 10 times, then okay, chances are I'm going to get away with it again. And so he doesn't like loud, so I'll raise my voice to make it loud so he knows, I don't want that to happen. You know, and then walking back and forth and say, here's where we go, we don't go here, here's where we go. So for me, it's not it's frustration, but it's calculated, the voice, the tone. It's not that I just get mad, it's that I gotta raise the level and the tone so he understands it, rather than it's, it is challenging, it is frustrating, but I don't think either one of us yell like that out of anger.
No, it's more, you know, maybe a sigh, and he'll imitate that, you know, and so you try not to do that. We try and curtail it.
And we've tried so many positive reinforcement things
Yeah.
that just don't work, you know, it's just been, you know, here's candy, here's this, here's that, you know, we've tried so many ways to try to correct behavior. And it's like he'll take the candy, he'll take the crackers, but he doesn't put 2 and 2 together, that I'm getting this because of this. The cause and effect of there's a reward that I got because I did this right. It's just, especially if it's not real time. I mean, if it's gotta be in the moment and it just hasn't seemed to work.
Yeah, but it seems like the more frustrated you are, the more frustrated he gets.
Yeah.
And so again, though, that's, it's hard on you as a person, like, okay, how do I get rid of my frustration, if I have to keep pushing it down, so it's another thing to work on.
Yeah, because, if you get heightened and you
It
get
heightens him, so you
tense.
have to learn to just, I have a friend that says, you are the most patient person I've ever seen in my life, because I would have lost it. I said, but you know what, but it's, it's not her life, it's not her child, I mean, she might be the same if she were in the same situation, so.
As parents of a child with a disability, how do you both feel about inclusion?
I'm all for it, and it's, I would say, the least restrictive environment that a child can be in is most important. But I think that there's a real want and a desire for inclusion, and the social benefits of that are huge. I mean, when we grew up, there was no such thing. So all these kids were in the special education room, and nobody knew who they were, what their issues were. They just knew they were different. So it was those kids. And Parker's been included, throughout various class levels, and to see the kids advocate for him. They'll be together in an assembly, and while he's in one classroom, the other classroom doesn't know him, and so he might make noises or act out, and he's supposed to be quiet, and it's like, hey, don't make fun of him. He's our Parker. They rally and they stand up and they take care of him because they know him. He's a part of the class. He's not this other unknown. That's the positive side of inclusion, and I think
if the child is able, that's where they should be. If it works for them, it's so important. It's so important for them to be around their typical peers.
But what we've
But for
learned
Parker,
is that it's the opportunity cost of sitting in a classroom where the curriculum is so above your head that it's going over your head, and you're expected to sit there. And certainly there's a nice social benefit to sitting in that classroom if the other kids know you. But if you're just flipping through a book and you're not really getting the curriculum, how could those hours have been spent more one-on-one at an academic level that's going to be more beneficial to him long-term? So I think inclusion is good, but I don't think it's a blanket to understand that each child is an individual and whatever is best for them.
they shouldn't be
meeting them at
pushed
their
into
level.
inclusion if that's not what's right for them, like it's not right for Parker. He can't hardly regulate himself to sit for 5 minutes. And you can't do that if you're in a regular classroom disrupting the rest of the class. So I think it's very individual, but very important for those that.
And we want that for him. Our
We
hope
do.
is
That
that
would
we
be a dream.
can get him to the point where he is, and this program will accommodate for that, is if we get them to the level where we feel as though the best place for them is to be included, and that academically they can modify the curriculum enough to where that makes sense, then we've succeeded. If we've gotten the child from where they are to where they can survive and I would say thrive in an inclusive setting, great, but not every child is there.
Is Parker included in general education classes for any part of the school day?
They're starting to incorporate him into gym,
Okay.
and so that's a recent development. So we'll see how he does with that.
So this will help with his recreation and.
It will help, and that is a fear right now because he is not so much included, and especially he's older than all the other kids. As a 7th grader, this school is 6th grade is the highest it goes. So academically, the school is a better place for him, but the social aspect, he's now that kid that's in that other classroom that we don't know about that makes weird noises, and that's not something that we like or don't wish for him. I think fortunately he's at a level where he's a little bit protected from that because I don't know that he would really even know it if a child was making fun of him. He's kind of isolated from that because he's just not that socially in tune with it. And so we feel, I guess, fortunate for that if somebody were making fun of him, it wouldn't affect him in any way, that he wouldn't know it. you don't like that happens, and you certainly wouldn't ever want to see him be bullied, but I think he's not gonna push back. If somebody is making fun of him, so what, he's not gonna hear it, he's not gonna understand it, he's not gonna say, don't do that, because he can't. So kids, I think, would generally probably back off and say, well, what fun is it if I'm not gonna get a reaction?
Yeah.
Well, and we just love him for who he is, you know, we just want him to be happy and healthy and whatever he can accomplish at whatever age, we're thrilled, so.
You know, one thing that is a little concerning too about that is he's so compliant, you know, if kids were to bait him into doing anything, I mean, he tells our cat, no thank you. He defers to the cat, like the cat's gonna tell him what to do. He's so used to authority that he's in a situation where he's probably pretty vulnerable, not just to kids, but teachers or anything, you know. To get him to the point where he can advocate for himself and have a voice to say, I don't want that, or, you know, this is hurting my ears, or this is, he doesn't have that voice today, so he has to rely on others in the classroom that are in tune with that voice, and he doesn't always have that.
What do you guys think the most important thing is a school should teach students with disabilities? Or even students without disabilities?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing a school can do is to learn where that child is. There's no one thing, you know. Learn what their limitation is, like the building blocks we talked about before.
And there's different ways of learning.
Right. Yes. And then treat them as an individual. You know, I feel like we've had teachers in the past who have said, this is my classroom. The child needs to adapt to me and my way of teaching and thinking, and not the other way around.
If we go to the restroom, these are the rules you follow,
Yeah.
period.
And if you don't follow my rules, you're
Yeah.
not a kid. You know, not,
Yeah.
oh, with this child, I need to be a little quiet. We had a teacher once who was an occupational therapist, and you just had this loud, grating voice, and it didn't matter if she was talking to us or in an IEP or with Parker. And we would say, you know, some people are too loud. Some people are too loud. And she didn't even get that. And just think,
It was a
the
very
way you're talking,
unsuccessful
the way
year.
you're talking right now is going to set him off. Yeah, I know we talked about that, and I got to work on that. Yeah, I know. You know, she doesn't. It's just not willing to adapt and make the environment open for him to learn. So meeting them where they are, understanding that they're all individuals, and modifying your approach as a teacher, especially a special education
It's
teacher.
most important.
I can see in a classroom with typical kids, you know, where if you try to modify and have different rules for this child versus this child, then kids say, well, why did they get away with that and they not?
Yeah, but to a
I gotta
certain
have
degree.
one set of rules for all these kids, treat them all equal. And I think that sometimes bleeds over into special education. You know, so if there's one thing for us, the one thing that Parker needs, maybe other kids don't, it's communication. It's the ability to unlock what he can unlock verbally through either a communication device or some other means of communication, which they're working on here.
Okay. As parents, what do you think teachers could do to make Parker's day simpler? You've stated that he's got all these resources that help him.
That's
But
huge.
how could they make it simpler?
We're doing everything here to make it simpler. They're amazing. They've already made adjustments for him when they see in the morning, when he goes into that side of the room, he's a little bit more frustrated, and that kind of starts off on a bad note. So they're like, okay, we're gonna have him come into the center room first, we're gonna have a snack right away, and it's like they just problem solve on a daily basis, which is amazing. You know, and what else?
I think a visual schedule, they've
Yeah.
made his life easier by letting him know what to expect. I don't know that he's always understood that, okay, am I gonna be here an hour, or is this gonna be 3 days? I don't know that he has a sense of time and time passing, and so if you think about the anxiety of never knowing and not being able to look at a watch and tell time and say, okay, this seems like it's been 3 days, and I mean, you know, so having a schedule that, okay, first you do this, then you do this, then
Which
you do
they
this,
do.
and I can see I'm almost at the end of my day, and we had a teacher once that was really pretty good about it, talking on schedules, and sometimes teachers would, not only for Parker, but for other kids, take it away. I don't see them using their visual schedules, so we've put that away, you know, and it's like, well, wait a minute. You know, just because he doesn't use it doesn't mean he's not referring to it. Why don't you give me your daily planner? Give me your daily planner. I don't see you using it right now. So you probably, how would that go if you didn't realize that you got this due and you got that? You don't need that daily planner. So it's kind of a nice way to look at it and think, oh yeah, if you took away that, that's what you're doing when you take away the visual schedule. You're totally lost for what's coming next.
Throws it out of whack.
Yeah, and they do that here, so they've got a really
Well, and I don't know what they do right before I come, but I think it's very similar every day. And then he looks out the window and waits for my car, and then, Mom, come, go home, Mom. And it's just awesome,
that routine of understanding that there's a routine.
Yeah.
While he isn't rigid to routine, and we're fortunate for that, he definitely can.
But he thrives when he
Yeah.
knows,
That this is what the expectations are.
and just, listening to parents and adapting, which is what they do brilliantly, and having such great communication makes his day simpler and better.
The other thing too is that he's always had a hard time of understanding when are you in control as a teacher or an educator, or when am I free to be in control of myself? Because if I'm in control of myself, I'm going to be swinging, I'm going to be somersaulting, I'm going to be, doing all those things to satisfy my sensory needs. But if you're in control, then okay, I'm kind of here. He's good about listening to authority. But how long is that going to last? And so what they've done here, which is brilliant, is they give him a chance to have a mini escape at his workstation. He's got fidget toys. So if he's working here and it's just getting too frustrated and he needs a little mini escape, he can go and play with the fidgets. Now, that doesn't mean I get to go swing.
But
do
yeah,
all
he
the
knows
things I
he's
wanna
not
do.
allowed to come over here and free for all. It's
Yeah.
not that time.
You're still in control, but
Yeah.
okay, you're gonna give me something to help me get through this, because this is really getting to be
This is really hard.
overload.
Mhm.
And then, okay, we're not done yet, Parker, but you can stand up and you can go clap and pace and kind of work out a little bit of energy, because that's what he'll do, he'll clap and pace.
Just gives him something to have that feel.
But he knows that I don't get to go to the other room yet, I'm right here, I know you're gonna make me come back, but I get this little mini escape. And then if I need a little more, I can go out into the broader room, which isn't quite like this room. You can somersault and you can do a few more things. But, now I'm on my own time, I can go to the fun room, So they've just made it so that he can retreat or advance at the level that he's capable of to expand that window of education.
I just currently don't have anything to give them because they do it all.
It really does sound like this place is great.
They're
It
smart.
is.
I tell you what.
It's amazing for Parker, you're right.
As like I said before, as parents, we know Parker, but we're not educators, and we got invited when this program was being started to be a part of I would say a workshop where all these teachers went around and talked about this program and what can help these kids. And listening to the administrators and the educators in a very rapid-fire, quick session, brainstorm about all the things that they could bring to this class. As parents, we're sitting there saying, whoa, you guys are sharp about education. You guys have been trained in this. I mean, obviously, this is as parents, we would never know enough to be able to say, these are the building blocks, these are the steps, this is how to get him where he needs to be. So,
how do Parker's needs influence his schoolwork and his relationship with other classmates?
with the relationship with other classmates, I think sometimes he will get frustrated, and first, if he's trying to have a release and he's agitated, he'll usually pinch himself, and say, I don't know why he does that, but it's just a sign that he's very frustrated and he's almost had too much of
Or
either
pinch
talking, or he'll pinch others. So he might be in line with some other child and just really frustrated, and I don't know if he's expecting that child to help him get out of this situation or what, but he will sometimes pinch that child. But usually kids have been pretty good about.
Just lack of, can't have a conversation, so there's no friendship, however, in some grades, a teacher has told me that such and such child said that Parker was his best friend. And it's like, I just want to cry, because it's like, wow, really?
The benefits
He's never
of
talked to
inclusion.
you, he can't have a conversation, so.
There are some kids
pretty
that are
amazing.
so compassionate,
They're
and
drawn
that's
to
the
him.
benefit of inclusion. If you didn't have inclusion, you wouldn't find those kids that were so compassionate to say, I want to help this child. I know this child has nobody, I'm gonna take them and be their friend, and, you know,
That's
that's
genuine friendship.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
even though
because-
it's one-sided in many ways, and this
Yeah.
child might pinch me,
Yeah.
I understand that this child has, you know, limited interactions. And some of the, throughout his education, there's been, usually it's little girls, you know, but they kind
They wanna
of
take care
mother
of him,
him,
yeah.
take him under the wing, and we're gonna take care of Parker. kind
But
of
due
thing.
to all of his needs and lack of communication, it's, of course, that affects
Yeah. So who does
relationships.
Parker hang out with outside of school when he's not here?
Us, his family,
His
and his
sister.
sister, and sometimes she'll have friends come over that, you know, in the neighborhood that have grown up and seen Parker, they'll include him, and that's pretty amazing. Or grandparents, and that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
horseback riding, he loves horseback riding, so we'll take him there on Saturdays, and so he's got a horseback riding therapist that you know, he sees, and of course his therapist in the home, because we do have ABA and home therapy going on.
Yeah.
And in the summer, that's more than it is during the school year, and they're like family. I mean, they're in
Yeah.
our house, and they play with him, and he
Mhm.
lights up when they're there, and they laugh, and it's just like family.
So it's work for him, you know, they still make him do what they're there to do, but have a lot of fun too, you know, they tickle him, and then there's all that relationship building too, so.
Yeah. And we've had some of these same therapists in our house since both the kids were very young, and our daughter Sydney used to say, she would say, well, who's coming home today? And which therapist coming in, so you'd think that they live there, you know, it's like, well, who's coming home?
They don't live here,
This
it
is
seems
their
like
home.
it, it's the ones they live.
Yeah. Yeah, so.
What are some particular challenges Parker is facing right now?
The potty training, I think, is
Is a huge
still
one.
probably one of
Yeah.
his biggest challenges.